Welcome back to the Mariners Walkoff podcast. My name is Jordy Bott. I'm joined as always with Juan to discuss another week of Mariners baseball. This one was an absolute roller coaster of a week. And it was really funny because going into it last week, we were kind of previewing the Yankees series. And I remember us kind of agreeing that if we took 2 out of the 4 games against the Yankees, we would call it a success. But we did that, and it did not feel like a success. It was painful.
That's the curse of winning the first 2, you know? Had we broken those wins up, we would have been fine. It wouldn't have mattered how else. Like, had we won 1-3 or 2-4 or 2-3, I think we would have been like, great, split, happy, thrilled. But because we won those first 2, we were getting a little greedy, and we wanted the series win, and then God forbid a sweep of the Yankees. So yeah, you know, it was a good start to the week. They brought us back down to earth like this team will do. It'll humble us quick. But at least we split with the Yankees. You know, at least we split with the Yankees. We went 4-6 on the road trip with tough teams that we had to get out of the way, right? With Yankees and Baltimore on the road. And then, you know, we would have liked to finish a little bit stronger with Washington only winning 1 out of the 3. But with that being said, great to end the week and the road trip on a high note. Got the win today. So it could have been a lot worse based off of who we were facing, and we could have found ourselves, you know, just as easily behind Houston and Texas after this road trip, but we're still 3 games up. So,
well, and realistically, we probably should have done worse against the Yankees. That first game, we had no business winning that one, but they managed to pull through. And we were like, okay, well, a little sketchy. And then the next one, we're like, all right, we're in cruise control, baby. And then the offense decided to take the rest of the week off. It's been kind of, I feel like, a broken record talking about the offense right now, but I think we need to dive into it.
This week I truly felt like, oh my God, we're the best team in the world. Oh my God, we are the worst team in the world. That's how much we're
absolutely. Like, it was just one of those things. It's like, we don't deserve to be in first place right now.
We got to be the worst.
Then again,
first place team.
Oh, easily. This is the new AL Central. We took that title over. This is not good. What are we? 2 above 500 and in first place. We wouldn't have a wild card spot right now.
I'm okay with it.
While we're on the topic of that, do you feel like right now, this team is a playoff team? Like, obviously, standing wise, yes, we are in a playoff spot, but does this feel like a playoff team?
Yeah, man, I'm such a believer in pitching wins championships. I think you go as far as your pitching will take you. Obviously, that's not an exact science with the Rangers winning the World Series last year. But I do think it is a playoff team. Now, whether or not it's a team that can make a long run, I don't know yet. I don't know if the offense is good enough. Especially, you know, you're going to have to go through Baltimore or a New York Yankees or even fucking Cleveland, man. You know, Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken, we split with them early in the season, right?
But no, we lost the series.
Oh, we did lose the series. Okay. I thought it was a 4-game split, but it could have been lost 2-3. There's a lot of good teams in the AL right now, and I don't think we stand up that well to them. I understand that we lost 2-3 to Baltimore and split with the Yankees. So there is life and there is possibility, but you know, the Yankees go and put up 5 runs in an inning, which is not unheard of based off of the lineup that they have. And then we're kind of screwed. You know, it's going to take some miracle like we saw this week to get back into the game. I think they're a playoff team. I think certain things need to happen to make them a championship caliber team. I do think that's a possibility, but not with where the team is at today.
I would 100% agree on that. It's a playoff team, definitely not a championship team. There's things to work on, but right now our biggest concern is we've got a couple teams gaining ground on us. Our lead has shrunk. Houston is making that charge, which we kind of assumed. Obviously, we wish that we could have absolutely taken a run with it when they started off slowly. But right now, we've got to focus on just kind of gaining some ground in that division. So what would you say is the priority for this team, the thing they need to work on the most to make sure that they can still hold the lead in this division?
I think there just needs to be some lineup consistency, man. I think we see it every day. There's a new lineup every day. We're just trying to do too much and be too smart, I think. I'm the biggest Scott Service critic out there in the Seattle fan base right now, to be honest with you. But there's no consistency. Nobody knows if they're playing. Nobody knows, where they're hitting in the lineup, and it's hard to get into a flow of things, And you see it a little bit where they were forcing Rojas in the lineup and his numbers came down, and then they were forcing Rayleigh in the lineup and his numbers came down, and now they're forcing Demo in the lineup, and I'm sure it's only a matter of time until he regresses too. But there's no consistency. There's no offensive identity. And they need to figure that out. I don't know what the answer is. I do think there needs to be a bat or two that is not on the roster right now that comes and makes a difference. Whether that's somebody from AAA, I don't think there's anybody really down there that can make an impact that we need. The top prospects right now are a couple years away, in my opinion. But there are some bats available via trade. Pete Alonso is probably going to get moved. Vladimir Guerrero might be available. There could be guys, Bo Bichette is another one. I don't know what that looks like. You probably got to send JP back to Toronto in that trade, I think, just because, or Polanco. With that being said, I don't think that Toronto really wants to eat Polo's contract if they're trading those guys, but I think the Blue Jays are going to line up really, really well, and I do think a move is going to be made between Toronto and Seattle.
Who do you think? Because obviously it's going to be multiple prospects if we're bringing in Vlad or Bo. Who do you think are the prospects that are moving?
Yeah, that's a tricky one to
Actually,
know.
sorry, before you answer, who is moving? And I know we've said this before, but obviously this is a few weeks ago. Who would be off limits in your opinion, if anyone?
Yeah, and that's a good question. Let me just pull up our farm team here real quick. I think Cole Young is probably untouchable.
Especially with the proximity to to how close he is
Yeah,
to the
he's
majors
probably
right now.
next year guy, right? Like you're hoping he breaks camp like Julio did out of spring training next year. Um, Harry Ford may be expendable, but I would like to sit down with Cal and see where Cal's at. Obviously, we don't know if there's been extension talks. We don't know if Cal's open to signing an extension. If he is, he's done more than enough to show that he could be the catcher for the next 5, 6 years, if not longer, right? So, if that's the case, then maybe you look at Harry Ford in another position or as a trade piece. And that's it for me. That the starting rotation is so good that those are the only untouchables. I
I
would
don't
like to see Tyler Locklear stay in the organization because I think he's the starting first base of the future. But if you go and get a guy like Vladdy, why not move a Harry Ford and a Tyler Locklear, bring back Vladdy and Yimi Garcia or a Nate Pearson, who is a great reclamation project for the Mariners. Cole Young, I think, is my only untouchable man. I would even be willing to deal Emerson as well, so.
Well, we've got such a glut of infielders right now that we absolutely can move it. So if we moved Colt Emerson, it would obviously hurt. The guy is a phenomenal prospect. He's a great athlete and stuff. But at the end of the day, we want to win right now. He's a few years out. And if we can bring in a Vladdy or a Bo, 100% worth it. I don't think it's going to be one of those trades where we look back and we're like, why did we do that? It's not going to be an Adam Jones situation.
Right.
So I would be totally fine moving him. Right now, though, the one thing that I've kind of cooled on is moving Harry Ford. And that's because our organization took a shot to their catching depth this week, which let's get into that trade because I know you got some pretty strong feelings on this. So we sent away Blake Hunt for Mike Bauman, and I already forgot the name of the other catcher that we brought in. It's a AAA catcher. He's not going to have an impact.
Yeah, he's like 30 years old. He's just organizational depth. I don't know what the fuck Dipoto saw in this trade. It's unheard of to trade a guy like Hunt for a pitcher that was DFA'd. It's one thing if we're getting back a legitimate reliever. You can convince me. You bringing back a reliever like I see Hunt as a trade piece that could bring back a Yimi Garcia or that kid that's dicing in Oakland or there's so many available arms.
He wouldn't be able to bring back Mason Miller.
Maybe not, but relief pitchers are so volatile that why not? If you go to Oakland and say, hey, here's your catcher of the future, we want a relief pitcher, you got to make that trade. And, whether you see Blake Hunt as a franchise catcher or not, I understand he's 25 years old. He was hitting 297 at AAA at the time of the trade. And he's graded as a 70 defensive catcher. That to me is the guy that I want backing up Cal Raleigh on the major league roster, right? If we don't see him as our main guy because we have a Cal Raleigh and we have a Harry Ford, why wouldn't we want Blake Hunt to be our backup catcher? Well, we don't lose anything defensively, and then maybe he can provide a little bit more pop than a guy like Zebby can on the MLB roster. It just doesn't make sense to me. I understand that I'm very pro bullpen. I'm not against going and getting bullpen arms. I think we probably could have brought Bauman in without having to trade a prospect of Hunt's caliber. I also don't think that the organization did him any favors by trading him to Baltimore. I understand you got to do what's best with the organization, but Baltimore does not see Hunt as a starting catcher on their MLB roster. They have the best catcher in the fucking league in Adley Rutschman. So I hate this trade. I understand that there's a good chance they will turn things around with Bauman and teach him how to be a good reliever. The track record would suggest as much, but I don't think we had to give up what we did, and I don't like the trade at all, especially after seeing him his first outing. He looked like shit. He looked really, really bad.
Well, and it's funny you bring that up because I'm probably a bit lower on Blake Hunt. I don't see him as more than a backup, but I still do see this as a huge overpay. But it's part of me, like what I'm pretty sure it is a clear desperation move. And that's just based on the fact that we traded for this guy Wednesday evening, and then Thursday afternoon he's pitching, which that just seems almost unheard of to use him that quickly. So it's obviously, a desperation move for Jerry, ended up overpaying and all. But there's part of me that is hoping that it's also part of a plan, right? Because maybe Jerry's like, we do have another move on the way. We have an actual major league backup coming in, and we're going to move Sebi or something along those lines. Maybe there's more to it. That's what I'm hoping. But at the same time, I'm not super optimistic on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I assume they saw something in this kid in this arm that suggests that they were going to get that, eighth inning guy out of him. I think that's the only explanation that makes sense for moving a guy like Hunt, whether you're high on him or not, or whether he pans out or not. It seems so expensive for a pitcher that
Well,
was
and the big thing with him too is he's got control. That's always the big thing with
his
the
control.
Mariners. And that's what Blake Hunt had. He had no service time, so they had control of him. So there's got to be something else that they see in Bauman right now that they're like, all right, we're willing to give up this many years of control of a guy who might not be a starter, but has got the floor of a backup major league catcher. And that's the other thing. The Mariners love floor guys.
He is the epitome of a backup catcher that has a chance to play his way into a starting role. If he hits well enough, he's going to be a starting catcher. He's doing it right now in AAA, and I hope he gets a chance because this is a kid I didn't know much about and started to do some research, and we started to discuss him maybe a day before he got traded because I was like, oh, I see this potential young kid with maybe a higher floor than Sebi, but maybe not necessarily anywhere near talent level to replace a Cal Raleigh right now. But Bauman's got to work out, man. He's got to be a high leverage guy for this trade to make sense to me. I especially nowadays where we're protecting catchers, and if there's a day game or if there's no days off throughout a week, that's potentially 2 games a week that you got to rely on this backup catcher because it's a physically demanding position, and we can't just throw those at bats away. We can't. And not only that, but Sebi fucking sucks defensively. He's awful back there. He can't keep the running game in check. I got so excited because he threw out one single runner, and I think it's been the only runner all season he's thrown out. Watching him throw the ball is awful. So to go and give up on a defensive-minded catcher for a guy that's DFA'd, I don't get it. It seems really fucking stupid to me, but there's a reason these guys are in the position they're in, and there's a reason I'm critiquing them to our 15 viewers right now.
Well,
That'll grow. We'll get there. We're new. It's fine.
it is a
It's
scary
crazy.
thing too, because like I said earlier, this absolutely demolishes our catcher depth. If someone gets hurt, we are pooched, because all of a sudden we're bringing up that guy whose name we didn't even bother to learn. He's going to be on the major league roster. He's going to have to play a couple times a week, and we're not only are you throwing at bats away, but these are at bats that Cal Raleigh should have had, probably our best hitter. So that's already a major downgrade. And then you're pretty much forced to move Harry Ford up to AAA, and he's hitting well, but there's a chance they don't feel really comfortable with him moving up there. Maybe they don't see something in the defense, whatever. But if there's an injury on the major league roster, all of a sudden we're pooched.
Yeah, and I mean, like that's why I liked Hunt, right? Like defensive guy, and I know the guy that we got back from Baltimore is also defensive minded as well. So, at least we potentially don't lose anything there. I don't know if Sabby moves into that starting role or this kid in AAA or Harry Ford. I don't know what the plan is. I also know that Cal is tough as fuck. That guy's not going to go down easy, but it's scary, and I think that they moved the wrong body to go get that DFA pitcher. I hope it works out, and I hope he turns into a lockdown late inning reliever for the next 3 or 4 years. I mean, we have control over Bowman too, so there's a chance that it will work out. There's also a chance that Blake Hunt never makes the MLB and Bauman sucks and gets DFA'd by the Mariners. It's hard to say, but I think we overpaid, and I hate the trade.
And then we ended up wasting 7 minutes of our lives discussing a trade that never mattered.
That never went anywhere.
Which, that being said, that is a case with a lot of these Jerry Dipoto moves. It seems like there's so many trades he makes that we're like, what was he doing? And it's like, well, it doesn't matter anymore. Who cares?
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Ryan Healy.
Yeah.
Why am I shut off? Another move that this was an off-season move. Another move that really hasn't worked out. Luis Urias DFA'd, sent down, doesn't look like he's going to get claimed on waivers. Do you think his time is done in Seattle?
I think it comes down to health, right? Like there's a lot of infield depth and utility guys. Obviously, Rojas kind of took that job and made it his own. So, and then you got JP and Polo up the middle, but that leaves Demo that can give you that flexibility at all three infield positions. Plus, you can put him in the outfield. Plus, he's probably our best hitter right now. He's definitely our hottest hitter, and in the month of May, he was a top.
Julio Rodriguez disagrees with you the last 2 games.
Okay, 2 games doesn't account for the rest of the month.
Sample.
Demo hit 2 home runs in one game. Julio hit him in back-to-back games. So just because Julio went 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs in one game, I'm not ready to buy in that he's turning things around. It takes more than one game. I need a full week's worth of work. And I hope that is the case. And Julio should be our best hitter. Yeah, Dylan Moore had no business.
Sorry, let's hold off on the Julio talk just to finish the Urias discussion. We could get into the Julio right afterwards.
My apologies. Yeah,
that's on me. I interrupted you, but let's finish that thought. Demo playing all 3 positions. Urias, what do you think his status is with the team?
Yeah, I think they would love to get him to AAA, and I think they can, because I don't think they would have DFA'd him if they didn't think they could get him to AAA based off of the performance he's put out this year. I don't think he's done on the MLB roster yet, but only because of health. I don't think he's going to play his way back onto the roster. I think it'll be an injury that ends up putting him there.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that one. I'm hoping he sticks around, because he did show some good flashes. There was a stretch where
defensively.
Yeah, we were questioning, because before the season, obviously, we were worried, and then we were like, wow, actually, this guy's good. And then those last couple games, he had some pretty questionable errors, made Munoz throw in a couple extra pitches, and he was cold at the plate, but hopefully he can turn it around. If he doesn't, it's not like we spent too much to get him. Not the end of the world, but we want to root for him, and he did show the flashes. But that being said, let's get into this Julio talk. 2 home runs in 2 games and a stolen base. Do you think he is back?
He's a streaky hitter, man. I need to see it consistently. He can get hot and hit a couple mistakes, right? The pitches that he hit today, pitchers just didn't execute, right? Like okay, you hit a home run off a lefty in Patrick Corbin. Like, I'm not impressed. I'm sorry. That's not gonna cut it.
I like hitting a home run off me.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, you're a franchise player. You had 2 home runs all season, and now you took Patrick Corbin deep, and I'm supposed to buy in that you've turned things around. He's going to take more than that. He had a great game, and he is a major factor why they won today. And I love the guy. He's still super young. I think he's like 22, 23 years old, right? So even if he continues on this path this year, he's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things. It's like he's going to turn it around. There's no question. And he's still going to be a phenomenal player, but we're just kind of getting impatient for this season. This is what we need because we've said it before. The offense does as well as Julio Rodriguez does. He is the main piece right now, and we need him to do well. So that's why we do get a little bit impatient with him.
And I think the level of frustration with Julio comes from the success of the starting rotation. If the entire team was bad, I don't think anybody would care. They just say, okay, go develop, learn how to lay off that slider away and that fastball up. And we're fine. As long as you're developing and getting better this year, we're fine. But I think because the fan base sees the rotation and sees how good it is and sees, okay, you put us in a playoff scenario and we got these starters going out there not giving up any fucking runs. Now we need you to be the Julio we know you can be because we are in a win now mode. We can't have the face of our franchise not being successful while we're in a win now window. So I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from and the higher expectations of this young kid. And we can't expect him to do what he did today with, a home run, 4 RBIs and 2 stolen bases. That's MVP caliber shit right there, obviously. And he does have the talent and ability to consistently do that, but he now needs to go and prove that he can do it consistently and not be streaky.
And you did mention one of the things that kind of had you a little skeptical is that you said, oh, he hit 2 mistakes. But for me, I'm kind of the opposite because he was still swinging and missing at mistakes going into this series. So to see him actually hitting mistakes, I see that as a step forward. Now it's a matter of hitting good pitches.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. It's like, all right, he's proved he can crush mistakes, which this year so far he wasn't even hitting those hard. So to be able to actually get some lift on the mistakes, that's good. I think that is a step forward. I still think we're gonna see a couple rough games before he starts to pick it up and we see a little bit more power. And the big thing is that launch angle. He's just been drilling these baseballs into the ground, but he was even showing in the Yankees, in the Orioles series, even that first game against Washington, he hit some pretty deep balls, but they were just going right to people. So
I actually like his approach right now, and you could see it in his home runs too. Those were line drives. I think the launch angle or the whatever you call it angle was like 22 degrees today. Like we'll
take that.
It's not a big fly, line drive
straight up down. Like
and that's fine. And to your point of like, okay, he was missing mistakes, but to quantify the mistakes that he's missing, a mistake at 97-mile-an-hour fastball from a right-handed pitcher right down the dick versus a 92-mile-an-hour fastball from a left-handed pitcher. Those are very 2 different mistakes for Julio to hit. We'll see. We'll see, man. Hopefully he can take advantage of, missing spots or wrong pitch selections in different counts and can continue to be the hitter we know him to be. I mean, this is a dude that's hitting probably like 270 after today on a down year. So again, we have come to expect more. There's plenty of time. He did this to us last year too. And then we looked up at the end of the season and we're like, oh, fuck, he could get MVP votes. So,
well, his home run numbers, he's only like maybe behind 3 or 4 less home runs than he was at last year. So
he cleared that up in a week. He's good enough to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing is he's got the power to do it. And yeah, like you mentioned, he's been getting base hits. That hasn't been really an issue at all this year. We just kind of want a little bit of a higher slugging percentage out of him now. The average is there. We'll take a 270. We'll take a 265, 270 average from Julio. We love
he can
that.
be a 270 guy.
Yeah, he is right now. He was last year. We just need a couple more extra base hits, and all of a sudden we're back to the Julio that we know and love.
Yeah, if you give me 270 and 35 bombs, 110 RBIs, nobody's looking at you like you struggled this year. You know? Well, 270 is fine, man.
This is the third time where it started the season where we're like, oh man, he's off to such a rough start. And even last year, it's the way he ended his rookie season. We were like, all right, it's going to be great. And then last year started off rough and we're like, oh God, it's not good. And it's like, we forget this. I feel like this is going to be a pattern. We're just going to keep forgetting how bad he is at the first. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully he doesn't start the season's bad, but this is kind of the trend already, is we just forget that he gets off to cold starts.
Yeah, he could be a guy that just needs 200 at bats before he starts seeing it right. You know, I don't know. I don't want to make excuses for him. Obviously, we need more from him at the start of the year, and we wish we would have gotten more so that the win-loss record we could have taken advantage of the struggles in Houston and Texas right now. But
do you think they'll allow him to have 2 lineup spots in spring training? He can be the number 3 and the number 8 hitter in the lineup.
Get him out. You know what they need to do?
Just so we can get him a couple hundred at bats in March.
There's an easy solution. Okay, we'll have him play at the major league field in spring training, but we'll make sure that our AAA games across the street,
he's DHing for both. He's just
exactly. He's gonna bounce back and forth.
He doesn't need to work on his fielding. He's got that down.
As a matter of fact, I almost don't want him fielding in spring training to keep his ass healthy. Not that that's been an issue, but the less you do, the less you're at risk of injury. But he'll be all right. Obviously, he is who he is, and we're nitpicking at this point.
Yeah, it is one of those things in the grand scheme of things. At the end of this guy's career, we're probably going to look back and be like, hey, remember when we were complaining about this guy? But that's happened with every Hall of Famer. That's just a thing they go through. I'm sure everyone's had that moment. Even they were probably even talking. Well, Edgar Martinez didn't even get in until he was 27, 28. So there's always just, everyone's got to go through those cold stretches. But we do know, we appreciate having Julio. We love having a superstar. But once again, it's just one of those things where like, we need to win now. So we are going to be a little impatient because can't beat this drum enough. The offense revolves around Julio Rodriguez. So we just need him to hit well.
He would also be untouchable, but I can see it now. We'll be at his Mariners Hall of Fame induction, and Cedric Mullins will rob a home run, and we'll be sitting there doing a 999 challenge at 50 years old. And
not even 9 beer before the end of the Cedric Mullins part of the speech.
Let's do 9 beers before Cedric Mullins shuts stuff.
Cedric Mullins is going to be my villain origin story.
I love it. We did see some interesting things during, I believe it was the Yankee series that they pulled this out, right?
Pulled what? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Was it the Yankees or the Nationals that had the bullpen car?
Oh no! So this was the Minnesota Twins.
Oh, the Twins had it.
The Twins have a bullpen car, and a lot of the guys don't take it. But there was a clip came out last week, and the reliever, he takes the bullpen car just because one day he was like, I'm gonna give it a shot, and he pitched well. So now he always does it. But as he got out of the car, he tipped the driver. And I can't remember what pitcher it was, but they were interviewing him afterwards, and he's like, dude, I had this cash in my back pocket all weekend just waiting to get in just so I could tip the driver. And they interviewed Rocco Baldelli, and he's like, and they were like, were you okay with that? And he's like, I told him to tip the driver. That's what we do. Yeah. But
take care of your
I personally, I'll say I love bullpen cars. I think it's awesome. I would love one. What is your opinion on the bullpen car?
I'm conflicted. Okay. I'm very conflicted on this because I think it's fun. With that being said, I do think it takes away from the entrance, so it can't be the closer. The closer is not allowed on the bullpen car.
Can you imagine Munoz, like the lights going down and like the flame videos, and he's just like beep, like pulling up in a bullpen car, it's a little baseball with a hat on, like the intense like Latin music going around. And he's like, hey guys.
we'll have Edwin Diaz do it, but the trumpets are the fucking horn of the fucking Apple car that they have bringing him in from the bullpen. No, I
No
used to
bullpen
have
car after the eighth inning.
right, yeah, no bullpen car after the eighth. We used to have this guy. I wish I could remember his last name, but he was our ace at Thompson Rivers University. He was our best pitcher. His first name was Danny. And this dude was a psychopath in the best kind of way. He would not leave the rubber on the mound. He wouldn't walk around. He wouldn't walk to go get a baseball. He said that he would not exert any energy that wasn't spent towards pitching.
It's all going into the fastball.
That was his whole thing, man. And this dude would hit himself on the head with a cleat in his hand because he was angry at his performance. Like this dude was a nutcase in the best possible way, but he would not leave that mound. If you like the only way he was leaving that mound is if he had to cover first base on a ground ball. He would not, and his theory was, I am not exerting any energy whatsoever towards anything but pitching. And so that's where the bullpen car comes into play here. I don't want to be out of breath by the time I get to the mound. And I understand they're professional pitchers and they should be able to make that light jog in, no problem. But with the time clock and everything, fuck it. Wheel me in, dog. Wheel me in. Let me build up all this energy to go and throw 9 fastballs by 3 batters and have an immaculate inning. That's my take.
That just made me think of the old Heath Bell entrances where he would just do a full-on sprint. Part of me is imagining him now looking at the bullpen car driver and be like, drive beside me. Let's race.
Yeah, let's race. I want to see Heath Bell race Minnesota Twins bullpen car.
How that man was able to come to a stop actually is what blew my mind about his entrances. I was like, that's a lot of momentum to come to an end.
Was he the relief pitcher that slid when coming in during the All-Star game? That was Heath Bell.
Yeah, that's him. Big boy.
Crazy, dude. Anyways, I'm pro bullpen car as long as it's directed towards preserving energy for your pitching performance. And it can't fuck up the closer entry.
Before we wrap it up, what would a Seattle Mariners bullpen car look like?
It would be a trident, but you'd have to ride it like a surfboard.
That's not a bullpen car at that point.
Yeah. No. We'll get you a handrail.
Like a longboard.
We'll get you a fucking harness. Okay. You'll ride the trident like you're fucking Jason Momoa from Aquaman. All right. And then you just hop off on the mound right onto the rubber like a goddamn badass. We'll have Pitbull do like a remix from Aquaman 2.
Macklemore.
Macklemore will be a part. He'll do a feature. Macklemore. You know, but I think it's got to be trident based. I think you have to ride the trident.
I was gonna say like just boat based, but I'm also thinking like just like a lame old tugboat. It's not gonna move fast. And they gotta stand at the front of it like with their knee up, and they need a pipe in their mouth. That's the only way you can do it. This is a show.
I do like that. I don't know. I'm partial to the trident. We can straddle the trident. And then, charge like it's a fucking seahorse or something. I don't know.
Well, now I'm just imagining them like a bullpen zip line, but they're riding the trident like a witch rides a broom.
As if the Savannah Bananas aren't in on this. As if the Savannah Bananas don't want to steal these fucking ideas right now, okay? Call them up. Let them know I got
You heard it here first.
You want to play banana baseball? Fucking let me know. I got you.
Screw your bullpen car. That's yesterday. We're bringing up the bullpen zip line.
We are zip lining from the bullpen to the mound.
They're going to be the ankle injury numbers. This is going to be worse than the Tommy John pandemic is the ankle injuries for relief pitchers.
Yeah, why did we lose our all-star closer, Andres Munoz? Oh, we told him he had to zip line for entertainment.
In hindsight, that was a terrible idea.
We didn't think he was going to trip on the Rawson bag and then fucking face first onto where the starting pitcher was planting his leg, and now he's got road rash all over us. We didn't see that coming, okay? We didn't have any forethought into potential injuries. We just
think of all the entrances where that didn't happen.
Right?
It was awesome.
Okay, Edwin Diaz blows an ACL, I believe, or MCL because he was celebrating a close. Or deep cut, Kendrys Morales breaking his leg on a walk-off home run. All this shit could happen regular
against the Mariners. That's why you don't hit home runs against the Mariners.
And then we go and sign him and watch him turn into a terrible hitter.
Actually, so I looked up Kendrys Morales' stats with the Mariners. He what I was gonna say he wasn't that bad. He wasn't great for the time, but right now I would 100% take those numbers in our lineup. Like it was like
good right now in that
yeah,
lineup.
it was like a 320 on base. He had like 24 home runs. Like it wasn't terrible. It was
Yeah,
just
you're
the
right. We'll
fact
take
that
it.
he was like he just you could tell from day one he just desperately wanted out of Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah. That was back when the Angels were good, though. So
Yeah, and what was it? Was it like 2015? No, it was earlier than that. It was like 2013 or something. It was when we were trying to be good, and it was like, no, not gonna
and it was
happen.
like all the wrong decisions. Looking at you, Robinson Cano.
I love Cano. I'm gonna wear my Cano jersey next week on this.
I hope you don't.
And I'm gonna be turned around back towards the camera. All you're gonna see is Cano.
Awful.
Okay. That's
Okay.
yeah. Moving on. I think that's it. Do you have anything you want to add before we
No, but I thought you were just gonna close it out right then and there, and I was like, that's the craziest way to transition to the fucking rolling credits.
I'm like, we've done this enough. No more transitions. We'll end it. All right. Well then, once again, check out our Instagram Walkoff Mariners. We got a lot there. Obviously, we've got conversations you can join in on. We've got tickets to Baseball Town. Still get those. Kirby Sneed, Taylor Saucedo. It's going to be a fun night of baseball. And of course, you can shit talk Jays fans. Hopefully, we win that night to make the trash talk a lot easier. But yes, and of course, follow us on there because we need the ego boost. My name, once again, for Jordy Bots, on behalf of Juan Forno, thank you so much for listening. Like us, comment, all that good stuff, and go Mariners.